All right. So welcome, everyone. We are nearly at the end of a really exciting 2 days. We have another exciting day tomorrow that's going to be a very different thing, and then 2 days after that for those who are sticking around for the Plug Fest. But it's been really, really interesting hearing all of these perspectives, everyone's views and contributions to what's happening in AllJoyn. And I think what we're up here to discuss is what's going to come next. Up on the stage, my name's Noah Harlan. I'm one of the founders of Tubles, and we're the creators of Higgins, which a lot of you have used. It was actually just in that video to help stitch things together. And with me is Danny Lousberg from Keynote and Technicolor, Jack Desjardins from IBM, and Joey Tang from Euronics. Yes, you can give everyone a good hand. Welcome. So the past year has seen a lot of change. I was just talking with Greg Burns a few minutes ago about the summit last year versus the summit this year, and I think probably one of the big changes is that last year AllJoyn existed as code and concept, and this year it exists in products. We've seen a lot of things happen, many of them coming to a culmination this week. There's certification now. We've seen several new releases of the code. We've seen products flooding into the market, over 120 million products out there now. And so next year, as we head into 2016, there's going to be a lot to accomplish. And I think that each of our panelists today brings a really interesting and unique perspective. And Danny, I'll start with you. From the work that you guys are doing at Keynote, first of all, can you explain a little bit about what you're doing? And then, you're working with people's individual environments and bringing those together. With where AllJoyn's at today, what do you think are the key, maybe 2 or 3 topics that it needs to knock down in the coming year as it goes into these environments?
Okay, so as Technicolor, we make gateways and routers, which are probably one of the most relevant and most present connected devices in homes, with the exception of maybe smartphones and computers. So these devices, we feel, are in a very good position to serve as anchors for some of these new use cases with new connected devices that are coming up right now. So in that sense, what we see is that for our customers, which are typically service providers, ISPs, pay TV operators, and things like that. What they're looking for is for the community of device manufacturers to bring these devices to market so that they can leverage the functionality that those devices provide and bring that together in a couple of services that they can build on top of that. And really, I think that's core to the promise of AllSeen and AllJoyn. And we are looking at that, we're really following the service provider's perspective in that regard. The most important next things that we as an alliance should try to accommodate, that we should try to achieve, is we've prepared the soil with the AllJoyn technical framework so that we could sow the seeds of new applications and new devices, which we're starting to see right now, which are coming up. What we're really going to be able to sow and to reap what we sowed once we have all of those use cases that bring these devices together in something that is maybe a little bit hard to predict right now, and that is going to provide the additional extra value on top of what the individual devices can bring by themselves. And so in order for us to accelerate that to the fullest extent possible, is everyone who's now starting to look at applications, starting to look at devices to bring into market that are dipping their toes in the water to see if it's cold, that are maybe a little bit on the edge and thinking, is this the right time to jump into the water? Just jump, just go. Start building applications and devices that embed this framework, that expose information and interfaces for others to build new and exciting use cases on to make your devices more attractive in the market. Even if you haven't figured out the ideal use case for yourself and your device yet, just integrating with the rest of the ecosystem, leveraging the creativity of the people that are around that entire environment of all of those devices should really help us deliver on the promise that we've been talking about for the past 2 years.
And to put you on the spot, so Technicolor, you make routers and gateways, and So what are you guys bringing to the market in 2016?
So you're absolutely putting me on the spot, and I don't want to commit to things that our R&D community wouldn't be comfortable with. Right?
We understand.
But what we're doing is integrating this in our core device categories. We're integrating it in gateways. We've already integrated it in a number of set-top boxes, actually. So we have customers that are using this. It's just the type of functionality that those devices are specifically well suited for. They share that information. For set-top boxes, you can imagine, pushing notifications is such an obvious use case for those devices. So integrating all of those standardized services that are available today in our devices, step one. Step two, start contributing more interfaces that are specific to our devices that we feel might be useful for other service providers, device manufacturers to leverage.
Sure. So Jack, so much of what we talk about here tends to, for very reasonable and understandable purposes, revolve around the home consumer, the home environment. But what you guys are doing at IBM is really focused on enterprise, B2B, and industrial applications as well. Talk a little bit about, let people know what you're doing with IBM, and what do you guys see with the year to come with AllJoyn?
Sure. So, IBM, as usual, is focused on enterprise clients. We look at it at foundational levels for IoT. Across the bottom is where makers and things exist. IBM's not a provider there, so it's a big play for us from an ecosystem standpoint. So we're partnering with the likes of Texas Instruments and ARM, and that list will continue to grow, so it'll be an active ecosystem play. Clearly, we have a cloud, a worldwide cloud. We've already announced plans that that's going to be in 44 countries around the world. So a lot of issues with data privacy, data concerns. So we're going to allow a lot of our big worldwide customers to be able to set their cloud across all the environments they have. Clearly, we're in this. IBM's a big analytics provider, so we're setting the table a lot this year and next year to try to get a lot of data into our cloud, but the value really is going to be around analytics, and IBM brings a lot. You've seen recent announcements where we're going to be focusing a lot on cognitive with Watson, so we're going to bring that into the IoT space as well. So we have a lot of clients that we work with, and they're going to have to decide how aggressive do they want to attack IoT. This could be a significant game changer for them. We've all seen where you can change your business model dramatically. So, I think a lot of clients, we're seeing they're testing it, kind of like you said, right? Put your toe in the water. No one's waiting. I think there's been some written that, is this all going to go bust next year, right? The buzz is going to come to an end. I don't think so. I think the opportunities here to be transformative with your clients is just going to drive people to keep going. We see a lot of clients putting in place executives now that are like chief innovation officer. So I think the opportunity is real. So we want to be the trusted provider to our clients. And that also is across the services. So IBM brings a lot of services to play, but we're also partnering closely with other service providers. So a few weeks ago, HCL in India announced the partnership, so they're enabling themselves on our platform. And in the end, a lot of these clients, they know they want it in the cloud. They don't really care where the technology is. So we're out working with a lot of them so that they use IBM technology and our platform to go build on.
And Joey, I guess it comes down to you. You're where the rubber meets the road. So we were talking about this before, some of the other folks and I, that at the end of the day, the best products in the world can be made. They can have the most fantastic technology. AllJoyn can be spectacular. But it's in your stores that someone is standing in front of a shelf and deciding what to buy. And what is it that you see AllJoyn needs to do in the year to come to help you bring products from the side of the store into the front?
Well, I have a couple of wishes, so to speak. I think just in any order of importance, I think I personally wish that the number of members joining AllSeen will be across the 400 mark, so doubling the number of members. I would see a lot more products in the market than of course coming today. but that's of course natural. Passing the discussion of certification, now really into how do we really bring the benefits to the consumer? How do we show them? How do we show what those products, if you combine them, enhance their lives, make things easier, give peace of mind. And potentially one app that allows at least the basic controls, but also allows consumers to really set the rules, how they want the device to interact. I think also is interesting that people help us think about business models, business cases, how to monetize it, what do we do with models on recurring revenue, how can we set that up, how can we build that. I think it's a joint effort. But my deep wish is next year to have 10%, at least 10% of our stores to showcase smart products.
So we've talked a little bit about sort of a vision for what could happen in the next year. What, Danny, what makes you most apprehensive about where AllJoyn's going? What are the pitfalls in the road that we're going to need to steer around in the year to come?
Right. Well, I think one of the things that we need to make sure that we do, if we want to make sure that we can deliver on this promise that we've all been talking about for the past 2 days, is that we don't start looking at each other for guidance as to what the next step would be. I think each and every one of the members is in a position where they can drive the ecosystem forward from their own specific perspective with their own specific expertise and skills. And while it's very important to all work together and coordinate those kinds of initiatives when there is a clear convergence or overlap in terms of the use cases that you can bring with that, it's also important that we don't all just look at each other and wait for someone else to take that first step. If you have an idea, and I'm 100% convinced that there are people that have absolutely game-changing ideas in this area. If you have one such an idea and you're even the littlest bit insecure about bringing that forward, talk to your peers about that use case and look for partners to bring that to market via the organization and the beautiful community that is the AllSeen Alliance. And my biggest fear would be that that not all members feel like they would be empowered or in a position to do this. And to those members, I would say you're absolutely dead wrong, because we all have very important expertise to contribute.
Well, picking up on that, Jack, for your clients in the enterprise space, there's a very high premium on proprietary, and yet we're here talking about a fully open source project, something where it's totally transparent, anyone can participate in it. How do you navigate selling in open source in the context of proprietary services?
Well, clearly, as we've sort of spun the company now to be really cloud focused, we view it to be an open area, so we're bringing in a lot of partnerships. So you can go on IBM Bluemix, you can get services like Docker, OpenStack, Cloud Foundry. So we're bringing our capabilities, but we're also bringing third-party capabilities, and it's customer choice or it's partner choice. And I think this whole area is going to have implications that are very different depending on the industry you're in. Now, we think there's a lot of opportunity in the insurance marketplace. Now, particularly if you look at preventative applications where insurance companies will talk about where water leaks and water damages cause them a huge amount of their losses.
I think I heard in the US it's the #2 cause of insurance claims.
Exactly, and to monitor something like that is fairly inexpensive, and giving a client the benefit, if they install monitoring, to benefit from that, sort of a clear use case.
But don't you then run a risk of bespoke solutions that change the nature of a pool? So how do you deal with large volumes of aggregated data with your clients? Is there a philosophical approach that you take as you look at all of these proliferating connected devices now being aggregated up?
Well, our sense is that there's going to be a lot of platforms. I think somewhere counting like 200 platforms today. I was at IoT World Congress a few weeks ago in Spain. I think they had 90 people, showing with PEDs, and I bet you there were probably 80 platforms. So everybody's collecting data at some point. So our view in IBM is that data is all consumable by our cloud, so we want to build that ecosystem. And it's important to do that for customers. If anything, our heritage was in IT. And IT, in relative terms, sort of seems straightforward and easy now, where there was a set of standards and people sort of lived by, laptops and servers and sort of how they built equipment. Now it's a bit of the Wild West that we have in IoT. So pretty clear that I've seen, the world of co-opetition is going to be alive and well. And it's clear for all of us to work together, and it's why IBM has been joining different groups so that we can help take down barriers so that we can get real industrial business being done on the internet.
And Joey, we now have AllJoin certified. It's a mark. It can go on the box or with the service. What does the AllJoin moniker and the certification do in terms of the sales channel? How do the people in your store, so you have 10,000 stores, how do they sell this on the ground? And what do OEMs and service providers need to understand about how to convey value?
Yeah, I think the AllJoin certification or mark, I think that's a good mark for showing the quality and actually compatibility between devices. So I think it's a step. First step is actually to train our salespeople in calling out ambassadors that we need to show what is needed to set up a smart home. Maybe even go further into alliances with service providers that we already have in our network to tool them up. And it's you just work with products that have this stamp on their products. But I think it also allows us to think about different business models, services, like the gentleman said, with companies, insurance companies, to look at the different ways of monetizing this. So I think AllJoin certified stamp is very important. It's a quality seal.
So I wanted to see if we had, I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity as an open group to open this up if there's anyone who had any questions. We have a couple members of the board up here as well, so I know that there have been some questions about how governance works within the Alliance. Does anyone have any questions for us? We can keep going, of course. Yes?
Sure.
I'll repeat it so you can.
That's okay. Just for Joey, because I loved the video yesterday from Euronics and how that main screen was on the refrigerator that was showing all the updates of the home and everything. And so I was just asking, who made that product, or if that was just a theory, or where that is.
So it was a very specific question for Joey. In your promotional video, who made the product on your screen, or was that just a proof of concept?
Do you mean in the kitchen itself, or who made the video?
Yeah, or just on the refrigerator there was a screen, and that seemed to be where the couple was interacting with their notifications and such. So I just didn't know if that was added to the refrigerator, or if that was an actual appliance.
Yeah, it's added to the refrigerator. So basically, the movie shows a vision of smart home. So there are a lot of products that are already existing. But there were also a couple of scenes that we think, that is something that we really want. For instance, the remote diagnostics. So there was a washing machine that showed a potential water pump failure with an error code. And then the guy was in his kitchen preparing something and got a call on his tablet. And there this Euronics service helped this guy. Says, sir, we got this notification. Would you like us to send over a technician to help repair that? yeah, and then a schedule, a date made. So these things we think really add value, and it's just our view to show where the benefits are of a smart home.
Now I have one. Yeah,
To the right.
over this way.
There we go, microphone.
And you can answer it too, Noah. We have a lot of fragmentation because of vertical markets. What's the concerns that we should have about segmentation within the horizontal aspects of the business? So do we have to worry about things like the LoRa Alliance and some of the stuff going on with non-cellular versus other radio solutions? Do you guys have any thoughts about those kind of implications, or enterprise issues in general?
So I think I'll answer to start. I think one of the benefits of being open, and we've seen this with the gateway, with the connector projects and the DSBs, is that we've been able to move horizontally quite effectively. And there's actually some wonderful examples outside. The ULE Alliance is here. InOcean is showing off thousands of devices that are in the InOcean protocol. And they're able to find a way to connect through into the all-join environment, leverage what we bring, and bring some of the things that are intrinsic to their technology. So in InOcean's case, it's RF. It doesn't, IP-based technologies don't really work in that context. But I think that there's going to be a lot of jockeying in the next year for position. Obviously, there are some of the very proprietary frameworks. There's HomeKit, Google's Brillo and Weave, which I think we're still learning and getting a sense of the shape of what that's going to mean. And each of those come with some benefits, and they come with some challenges. I think from my perspective, and when I evangelize on behalf of the Alliance, I think that the fact that we are the only group out there that is completely open source makes a big difference. And it provides an enormous amount of protection. And then with the certified program, you get this patent pledge as well that's incredibly powerful. And I think everyone in this room is conscious of the IP implications. But I'd be interested in anyone else's thoughts on this.
I maybe want to pick up on the LoRa, Sigfox type of IoT type solutions, because I often get the question, our customers are service providers. Service providers are particularly interested in those types of low power WAN technologies. I think there's a relatively small amount of overlap between that sort of IoT thing and what the AllSeen Alliance is primarily focused on, because in that type of environment you don't get to have the hockey stick effect of different devices that are not necessarily by default designed to interoperate in a fixed use case type scenario with each other, and you can't have like that multiplication of data points that can make you help you build new and exciting use cases. It's always, this remote device to a server that was built to do this one specific thing. So it solves a very important, very specific problem, which is getting sensors directly connected to the internet with the lowest amount of power possible. But in doing so, it removes some of the benefits that you have with a more proximal approach. And I think there's merit to both approaches, and there's use cases that benefit from one approach and the other. I think if you're talking about the true transformative effect that the Internet of Things can have, you should probably be looking more at the AllSeen kind of AllSeen way of doing things. I feel that the low power WAN technologies are closer to classic M2M scenarios that have been around for a longer time, right?
Does that hopefully address? Great. Anyone? That's it? Okay. So I have some more questions, though. How many, actually, by show of hands, how many folks how many people here represent OEMs or big or small? One? No. I don't believe you. Okay, and then how many are service providers?
Also one.
Yeah, also one. What are the rest of you? Software layer? Yep. Okay. So actually it sort of seems about a third, a third, a third. So for each of your respective audiences, and I'll start with you, Joey, because you're the most transactional, I would say. What are the 2 or 3 things, can be just one, the thing that would come into the market that you would say, this makes a big difference. This is something that people don't know they need, and we can solve it for them now. Or something that we can, if we had it, we could sell it like nobody's business.
I mean, in terms of products?
Products. Products or services?
Product services.
Yeah.
I think, just saying, I mean, let's just focus on getting things right and getting consumers understand what they can do with smart home. Because like I said earlier, it's the general lack of awareness that keeps the smart home category, so to speak, the IoT, in its infancy stage.
Right.
So unless we show consumers what they can really do with the products, and I believe all the products that are now in the market can add value to their lives already. Right. You know, the cameras, the sensors, the window sensors, the everything. So I would focus on that first to get it explained well. Also with manufacturers cooperating and having the awareness that they're part of the ecosystem, collaborating, that is most important. So I couldn't think of, let's say, a compelling product solution at the moment.
Fair enough. Let me change the question, because I think it will play into the rest of you in a slightly different way. But so you say that the big challenge right now is an awareness and a knowledge. You know, a consumer comes in and they may have heard of the phrase, they may have some notion of it, but you're trying to educate them in general about what this means, and then specifically about what these products can do. Whereas I would venture to bet in your case, Jack, that your consumers are a more sophisticated audience and probably have some awareness and need for connectivity. So in your case, it's a question of why AllJoyn versus some other technology to interact with your cloud and in amongst their devices. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that's a piece of it. I believe there's a real need for all of us to be really creative. What I'm finding is there's the minority of clients that know exactly what they want to do. They have a view of IoT, they want to go attack, and they know what they want to do. That's not the majority of clients today. Most clients are not sure. They see IoT as potentially a great opportunity, and on the same level, they're worried about it if they don't do something. So I think there's a great need for all of us to get started. You made a comment, get going. I think you got to get going, and you're going to discover where the opportunities are. I don't think any of us are smart enough to know where all the opportunities are. And if you look at a lot of the disruptive things that we've seen, right? You look at Uber and what have they done to the taxi industry? Look at Airbnb, what have they done to the hotel industry? And that was all about digital hitting physical worlds. It was all driven by digital, and that's what the IoT is. It's all about digital now coming into physical devices. So I think there's a great opportunity for all of us to show leadership with our clients and our partners.
And in your case, Danny, when you're dealing with service providers, it's an industry that I would say for many of us has not necessarily been leading a technological charge. They've sometimes been a little bit behind the curve. And now you're in the position of trying to explain to them why they should be embracing a technology that sort of expands the purview of what they do.
Yeah.
How does that work for you, and how do you sell that into them?
Yeah, but to Jack's point, I think most people that we talk to is very much aware of the fact that this is something that they need to be active in, this is something that they need to keep an eye on, and it's actually, anyone who's still doubting this, the cost of investment in your IoT solutions today is going to pale in comparison with the amount of revenues that you're going to lose if you keep standing on the sidelines, and I think all of our customers understand that. Right. What is the big challenge to the way that you phrased the question the very first time, which I thought was, let's say, hard for us to answer, so I'm glad that you gave it another
I realize
twist.
I put you all in a box,
Right.
Sorry, Joey.
So the way that you first phrased the question, it's about finding that killer application. Our customers typically don't have that killer application yet either. I don't think any of us have that killer application, but there's a deep sense of awareness that in order for us to find that killer application, we need to start working with what we know right now and to start embedding this type of technology on our products. Then it becomes a question of which kind of ecosystem do you want to back? And it's been said many times before, and there's a couple of players out there that are doing very interesting things, but the fact that you're working with an open source consortium like AllSeen really drives home the fact that you can have an impact and shape things and mold it to your needs without running the risk of endangering the interoperability promise. So that's kind of the story that we bring when we want to, when there's a need to convince one of our customers that AllSeen is actually the technology that they need to go for. Besides that, the absolutely stunning momentum that we have in terms of members, the active developers, all of those are also very good arguments besides the open source point for us that we can bring to our customers that are usually quite successful in convincing them that this is really the right approach. So, it's not just the one thing, but it is what sets us apart. So it's mostly part of the core message that we're bringing.
I think that is a great note for us to end it on. So thank you to our panel. Thank you to all of you. And stay in your seats because I think Philip's going to be back up with a few closing remarks. So thank you.